Towards the end of last year, of course, Páidí Ó Sé died, as you know, and your relationship with Páidí was what? How would you characterise it?
It was an exceptionally close one, I can assure you, until we decided to drop him one day. That was the end of our friendship for about 2 years.
Yeah, go on, remind us of that story.
Well, he was playing a game in Lisbon the Sunday before we played Cork in the Munster final.
Yeah.
And he got a bad injury. And we didn't pick him. But at the time, he was just going over the top as well. So we decided to let him off. So we played Cork on the Sunday anyway. And Cork beat us that day. And a fellow by the name of Denny Allen was playing corner forward, and Páidí normally would be marking him. So at the moment the game was over, Páidí rushes over to me and he says, "You made a mistake," he said. "You left me off today, and if you had picked me," he said, "Denny Allen, I can assure you wouldn't have got 4 points." So then we became pretty bad friends for about a couple of years. Yeah. But about after 2 years, he came to me and said, "Mick, I think you were right. It was the right decision." But he realised that when he began managing the Kerry team himself, that he had to do things like that as well. But he was one of the greatest players, I think, that we ever produced in the county. And his passion for the game was unbelievable.
And you were friends then as well?
We became marvellous friends after that.
Yeah.
And we'd maybe talk at least every 2 weeks. Yeah. But he was an unbelievable character, one of the great guys. A great man to be with for a night or for a day or anything. I
have been hearing great stories already this evening from his daughters, and I will, which we unfortunately can't share with them. We'll talk about that in a second. But he once said of your training sessions that they were sadistic, the closest thing to Hitler you'd get, he said. So were you tough? Were you tough on him? Obviously exaggerating the case.
Well, there were 7 of them there, you know. They used winter fairly well, let's say. Just put on a little weight and things like that, and they'd be fairly strong coming into training. So I'd have to take them nearly every night of the week. Whereas the other guys, I'd have them maybe 4 or 5 nights. But this gang anyway would be in, and Páidí would be one of them. But I mean, the commitment he'd give to those sessions would be unbelievable. Okay. But there are many stories about Páidí, of course. He was a marvellous character. A Shanachie in his own right. Yeah. Wonderful character.
Did you ever...
But I remember one Sunday morning, we were training in Killarney, and I got a tip-off from somebody from the Gap and Dunlow that there was 2 footballers arriving at the Kate Carney's cottage on Sunday mornings after training. So anyway, I made the decision I'd give a call there on one Sunday morning on my way home to Waterville, and I went in one door and he went past through, and there were my 2 bios up at the counter and 2 fine pints in front of them. I just gave them a wink, passed through, never opened my mouth, never said anything to them, had them in on Tuesday training in Killarney, and never mentioned Kate Carney's cottage or anything like that, but just gave them a few extra rounds of the field. And I can assure you, they realised that Kate Carney's cottage was no place to be on Sunday mornings.
It's the way to deal with them. Who do you fancy for the championship this year?
Well, it's going to be a great championship, I think. In the West, you have Roscommon, Mayo and Galway.
Good.
I think Mayo will do there. In the North, and you have Derry, who are looking pretty good at the moment. But I think it'll be between Tyrone and Donegal, and I fancy Donegal.
Okay.
In Leinster, then you have Kildare and Dublin. They're the 2 big guns. And Dublin look to be very good at the present time, but I think Kildare will put it up to them. Back to Munster, Kerry and Cork. So I've a feeling maybe that Kerry could come again this year.
That is the correct answer. Yeah. Listen, it's been very good to have you on the show, and thanks for coming to see us.
It's a pleasure.
Mick O'Dwyer, ladies and gentlemen.